Shedeur Sanders after he won the Johnny Unitas Award and I heard his speech. I decided that we all should discuss why Shedeur Sanders truly deserves it all. Shedeur Sanders, as y'all know, is QB1 for Colorado. But his journey to Colorado and his stop at Jackson State, being successful there and coming over to Colorado year one and now year two, finds Shedeur finally being recognized for his on-the-field talents as QB1. So the Johnny Unitas Award was presented to Shedeur last night, and it's the award for the best quarterback in college football. So Shedeur is also up for the Manning Award. And somebody just brought an interesting point up, something I've thought about, but we haven't talked about it yet. It's interesting how Shedeur is winning all of these awards. Same thing with Travis, right? And so some of the other players, the All-American Awards, honorable mentions, etc., right? But Colorado's not in a championship. Offensive Player of the Year, best quarterback in college football, Heisman candidates, not one but two. And personally, I think LeJontay Wester is also a first-round draft pick. So with all these accolades bestowed upon Colorado football as well as Shedeur, and at one point, Coach Prime was in contention for Coach of the Year, but not in the college playoffs. But you know what? It's okay. This is our first year of bowl eligibility, and we'll get it next year. But for now, I want to talk about Shedeur's speech. Shedeur said at the Johnny Unitas Award, the banquet that they had, the dinner, you know, that he gets hated on a lot. And he said he gets hated on because of his pops, you know, because of who his dad is. And, you know, it hurt me in my heart a little bit, because when you think about how young these guys are, and especially Shedeur, you think about the hate the Sanders boys had to endure, you know. And, you know, when you go back to, they were on this reality show and how young they were, and they kind of growing up before our eyes, and then we see them again in high school and, you know, off to Jackson State and then the Colorado. And y'all know how year one at Colorado went, you know. When they were 3-0 and they were riding high, you know, Shedeur said first game out the gate, he scored over 500 yards, which is how he got the nickname Mr. 500. And he was honest. He said, you know, they said HBCU kids couldn't do it. And he's right. And Shedeur, coming out of high school, they won either 2 or 3 state championships for Trinity Christian. And he was sought after. He had offers from everywhere. I think Overtime actually chronicled his visits. I actually watched it when it was happening, and he could have went anywhere. You know, I think he chose to go to a school in Florida, but when his dad got the job at Jackson State, he decided to commit to Jackson State. So he had all these offers, He had all these offers from all of these big schools all over the place. But when he went to Jackson State, suddenly the conversation changed to, well, we don't know if his skills will translate to college. You know, we don't know if he'll be that good. You know, they disparaged him, they down-talked him because he chose to go to Jackson State. Like when Travis was a 5-star, #1 recruit in the nation, they took away a star when he decided to go to Jackson State. Now, something like that should not happen. But it just seems like if you're Shedeur Sanders, you know, no matter how good you are, they didn't want to acknowledge you, right? So he gets to Colorado, you know, before they get there, they're trying to say, well, you know what, he's coming from an HBCU to a Power 5, you know, and they had the Power 5 built up like it's just this magical deity. And it just, after being in it 2 years, it's not even a Power 5 no more, it's a Power 4. It's not all of that. It's just not. You know, this year they're even talking about how Alabama miraculously keeps ending up in the playoffs when they shouldn't be. They get in preferential treatment. We see all the meddling that happened with Colorado, which led to Shedeur being sacked 52 times. I'm going to tell you again, people don't go 3-0 and then end up 4-8. And it's only a problem with the O-line. And people kept saying, oh, they don't have depth. That had nothing to do with it. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. Coach Prime had 2 rebuilds in 2 years. And in the second year, it worked. And sometimes I think the reason why he got NFL coaches, not just because he was in the NFL, but because I think he got people he felt like he could trust. So Shedeur Sanders sacked 52 times in year 1, enduring all this hatred. Year 2, they're predicted to go to win 2 games, maybe win 5 games. After this reload, what these Hall of Fame coaches and everything, they still, downplayed his skills, his abilities, saying it's just hype. And you're even hearing some of that right now with, like I said, a small percentage of the Vegas fans, but it's out there. Oh, it's just, hype, etc., right? And I'm like, this young man has really shown why he's sought after. And it's crazy to have all these accolades and be the first quarterback off the board, be highly sought after. People refer to you as the best quarterback in college football, including the media, who were skeptics and some haters as well, right? But yeah, they have come to see the light, but not everybody. He doesn't nearly get talked about in the Heisman race like he should. And in May, when I think it was one of the big box outlets did like a story on who's going to be the best quarterbacks this season, right? And I think Shedeur was like number 8 or number 10. He and Cam Ward were at the bottom, and after the years played out, they're number 1 and number 2. Essentially, what I'm saying is all of the bias that he's had to endure, all of the hatred because his last name is Sanders, because his dad is Deion Sanders, being overlooked on his skills. He's still being overlooked even though he's the number 1 quarterback in the draft and most sought after quarterback, most complete quarterback, most NFL ready quarterback, most battle tested quarterback, right? All of that. And they still aren't speaking on who he truly is. Like, they're not talking about how accurate he is. They'd rather say that his arm isn't that strong, which is actually not true. Then they don't want to talk about, they keep saying he's a pure pocket passer or he's not as athletic as the others, which is not true. Shedeur will even tackle. So what I'm saying is, if he's really a 5-star, they want to talk about him like he's a 4-star or a 3.5-star or something ridiculous. Like, they just don't want to give this young man his props. And for him to have to pay for being a Sanders, which is not something they should be ashamed of, because let's be honest, his dad hadn't done anything to anybody other than win and be confident. And people talk about his likability. People like Shedeur. At Texas Tech, do y'all know Shedeur signed tortillas for Texas Tech fans? Asked him to sign 3 tortillas. He signed every last one. He took a photo with the band. He gave somebody his cleats. He sat there and took photos with them. And he was like the last one on the field. So that's just a myth. Just like he couldn't get it done from an HBCU, or his skills wouldn't translate from his high school to a college, or from an HBCU to a Power 5, or from Colorado to the NFL. That's just ridiculousness. And it's sad, but to me, that's why he deserves it all, because they tried to close the door in his face. They couldn't do it. They tried to overlook him and ignore him totally. They couldn't do it. This young man went out here and played ball. I keep telling y'all, that Baylor game. Cam Newton said Shedeur didn't have a memorable game. That's an absolute lie. You go watch that Baylor game. And the Big 12 put together a reel of his highlights, a video on YouTube. Go watch it. Shedeur Sanders, if you watch that highlight video, you will see why he is the best quarterback in college football. Even the announcers talk about it. At one point when Colorado played, some of the announcers were kind of negative. But toward the end of the season, they became positive for the most part. The Baylor game, to me, shows why he's legendary. And the bias he's had to endure, the meddling he's had to endure, which caused physical pain, because, at the end of last season, he had a back injury. We saw how tough he was this season, even before the dirty hit by Kansas. And you take all of that physicality that, that he had to endure, and then the mental toughness, and then the hatred and the bias because he's a Sanders, or because he's African American, or because he's just not what they want him to be. And then you're good, but they're only talking about you being half as good. And he still made it. Offensive Player of the Year, best quarterback in college football, up for another award. Also Heisman candidate, #1 pick in the draft, most sought after quarterback in the draft. That's why he deserves it all. Because in spite of them and their biases and their meddling, he still got it done. In spite of a leaky O-line, he still got it done. Shedeur Sanders last year being sacked 52 times, I think he didn't even have 4 interceptions. Yeah. He threw for 3,900 yards this year. And all of those games weren't perfect. Colorado's average scores for the games that they played, that they won, was 34 points. That's nothing to sneeze at. He threw 35 touchdowns. Nothing to sneeze at. That's the most in the Big 12 this year. So in spite of them, in spite of the hatred, trying to close the door in his face, overlooking him, he still made it. That's why he deserves it all. He does deserve to go to the NFL team that he wants to go through. He has paid dues that he didn't even owe. Everywhere you go, people hate on you because they don't like your dad, but your dad didn't do anything. Y'all know he's protective of his dad. He's protective of his teammates. People ask, why didn't the offensive line and the other players rally around Shedeur when he took that late hit? He said I never even thought about that. All he was thinking about doing that late hit, that dirty hit by the guy that plays for Kansas, the defensive end. He just wanted to know if it was a complete pass. He was listening for the crowd's cheer, which would tell him it was a complete pass. Never was thinking about himself. And people say, like Cam Newton, they don't like Shedeur. That's not true. People are actually intimidated by Shedeur. He is confident. He knows exactly who he is, and he don't let you play in his face. That's commendable at such a young age that some people don't even know who they are. He's loyal. His O-lineman, his relationship with Travis, the other players on the team, or Marion Miller, they have a great relationship. He coaches and develops his wide receivers. What NFL team wouldn't want that? Shedeur Sanders is the most NFL-ready quarterback right now. And it's interesting how last year, all the analysts wanted Shedeur Sanders to go to the draft last year. You know why? Because they knew he wouldn't go first. They knew Caleb was going first. They wanted him to go last year so he couldn't go first. But now that he is, you're starting to hear rumblings of, oh, this isn't the best draft class for quarterbacks. Really? How all of a sudden did that happen? Because he decided to stay because he knew he would be #1. That's why he deserves it all. The hatred, the bias, the dirty hits, the betrayal, the camaraderie, the chemistry, the stick-with-itness, the leadership, the unflappability on and off the field, the mental toughness, the physical toughness, football IQ. He checks off all of the boxes. He's the only one that checks off all of the boxes. And they said he couldn't do it, and he did. And he did it well. That's why he deserves it all. Whatever team he want to go to, he should go. They're like, oh, no, you can't pick. Well, Alabama shouldn't be in the playoffs, and here we are. There's preferential treatment for everybody. But when it comes to the Sanders, they have to work 2 times as hard to barely be acknowledged to be hated on, disrespected, disparaged, overlooked. And he still made it. Offensive Player of the Year, best quarterback in college football, Heisman candidate, #1 quarterback in the draft. And if Vegas trades up, he might be the first pick in the draft. But Vegas has the second pick, and he is too. So, poetry. So that's what I was sharing earlier. I thought it was important to acknowledge, because it's not easy enduring that type of mental, the type of mental attacks they have to endure to get where they are. And you know, I actually said to myself, just like his pops, we say Coach Prime was built for this. Shedeur Sanders was built for this. So congratulations to Shedeur Sanders on officially winning the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award for the best quarterback in college football. But we already knew it. Congratulations, Shedeur. Thank you for watching That's What She Said. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for the love and support on my videos and on my lives. I'm so sorry about the live. I was so excited about it. But I guess it's one of those things that when you're new at something and something goes wrong, it's just some, kind of messes with you. But at the same time, I don't give up easy. So I'll be back on my lives, back on location. So turn on your notifications and don't be stingy with the like button. See you soon. Peace.